I quit my job as a top pediatrician to go home and raise pigs. Everyone thought I'd lost my mind, only I knew the truth. If I didn't leave, I was a dead woman in my past life, no matter how hard I researched. My boyfriend's childhood sweetheart always published her findings one step ahead of me. She calls herself a baby whisperer, claiming she can diagnose a child's illness just by holding them. And her conclusions always match mine exactly because I insisted on running tests. The overprotective parents accused me of ordering unnecessary procedures just to line my own pockets. The entire internet is tearing me apart. I've been physically assaulted more than once by parents who brought hired thugs to harass me. I begged my boyfriend, who is also a doctor, to step forward and speak up for me. Instead, he dropped to his knees in front of the camera and pleaded. Ailing only did this because she recently bought a house and is under immense pressure from the mortgage. Please, forgive her. His words sealed my fate. An extremist parent stormed into the office with a knife and stabbed me dozens of times. I spent a whole month in the ICU before I finally kicked the bucket after being reborn. I'm not playing the fool anymore. I packed my bags and headed back to the village to raise pigs, but my boyfriend's childhood sweetheart started to panic. The very first thing I did after my rebirth was hand in my resignation. I'm not a fool, I know when to cut my losses and run, but the moment I submitted my resignation, my boyfriend was up in arms. Have you lost your mind? After over a decade of grueling study to finally get to this point, you're just going to walk away. I know exactly how tough this journey has been. Countless nights spent on internships, revising my thesis over and over. I weathered all those storms to become the accomplished chief physician I am today. He asked me, how on earth can you think of going back home to raise pigs now? I said I didn't want to think much. I just wanted to save my own skin. In my past life, I was a top pediatric expert, a real authority in the field, but ever since a new junior colleague joined our team, everything changed. No matter how hard I tried, she always managed to voice the contents of my report before I could. Everyone was astonished and asked her how she managed it. She modestly explained that she had a natural ability to communicate with infants. I can understand what they're thinking. After I held that baby, he conveyed to me that he felt discomfort in the area below his stomach. Based on that, I deduced the issue must be with his appendix. Just then, the scan results came back, confirming her analysis perfectly. Su Yan made a name for herself overnight. Everyone regarded her as the pride of the hospital, the patron saint of pediatrics. Along with their admiration, there was also a quiet contempt for me. The hospital director even personally advised me against ordering so many tests for patients, saying that families had already complained, it was excessive testing. It's not just hard on the child, it's also a financial burden on the parents. Many families come from rural areas, and even this amount for the examination is a significant expense for them. In some cases, a child woke up during the procedure and had to be re-anesthetized to complete the examination. The whole ordeal left the parents utterly exhausted and distraught. When they handed me the report, their weary eyes said it all. Then came the soul-piercing question, Dr. Fu, can't you diagnose an illness without all these tests? I was left speechless. The child was too young to describe their symptoms and feelings in detail. I believed that conducting thorough examinations was the best way to identify the cause of the illness, but with Su Yan as a point of comparison, the family saw me as an incompetent and unethical doctor. They launched a cyberbullying campaign against me. They keep coming to the hospital to cause trouble and demand compensation from me. I turned to my boyfriend, who is also a doctor, for help. Not only did he not support me, but he twisted the knife by saying, maybe she's under a lot of pressure from her recent mortgage payments after buying a house, so she's using her child's checkups to make some extra money. Please forgive her. That statement sealed my fate. An extreme parent barged into my consultation room and slashed me dozens of times. My colleagues rushed in to try and save me, but I was just dumped in the ICU. I suffered in agony for over 10 days before I finally died. That memory is absolutely seared into my soul. Now that I've been reborn, what am I still doing here? If we can't win a fight, can't we at least run too? Seeing that I was determined to leave, Gu Qing desperately tried to persuade me to stay. He even called in a group of senior doctors, who pleaded with me in tears, saying the place couldn't function without me. Su Yan went even further, grabbing my hand and putting on a show of heartfelt sincerity that was actually dripping with passive-aggressive manipulation. Senior, she said, I know you've been facing a lot of doubt lately, but I believe in your skills. You can't just give up because of a few setbacks. In my past life, it was because of those words that I couldn't take it anymore and decided to fight for my dignity that day. A child with a very difficult-to-treat condition arrived at the hospital. The child was crying for no apparent reason, had a sallow complexion, white stools, and a series of other symptoms. When everyone saw the family present the diagnosis from another hospital, they all shook their heads. Believing the child was beyond help, I stepped forward and took on the task. I'll do it. For this, I meticulously reviewed the child's report, pondering it over and over. I even went so far as to investigate the child's upbringing and environment. I spent a solid week immersed in the hospital, working day and night. My perseverance finally paid off, and I found a breakthrough. As I excitedly went to see the family with the report in hand, I heard a desperate, agonized scream from inside. The child was gone. The family broke down on the spot. Su Yan had already jumped in and stated the conclusion, word for word exactly as it was in my report. She let out a heavy sigh and comforted the family. I'm sorry, if I had arrived sooner, the child wouldn't have needed to undergo so many tests, and we could have saved their life. It was only then that I learned the child had gotten scared during the examination, started crying hysterically, suffered a sudden cardiac arrest, and passed away right then and there. There wasn't even a chance for resuscitation. The parents' emotions exploded on the spot when they saw a corpse being wheeled out of the examination room. Seeing me, they redirected all their fury onto me, convinced that my strong advocacy for the examination had led to their son's death. It's all your fault. Why take on a job you're not capable of handling? If our son hadn't undergone that examination, nothing would have happened. They slapped me over a dozen times, beating me black and blue. The incident was even posted online. Everyone started cyberbullying me. They accused me of having no medical ethics and abusing diagnostic tests. Some people even posted videos online of other children crying during medical examinations, saying, if it weren't for the tests you ordered, would our child have to suffer like this? What's the point of all those tests? Can you actually save the child's life? Those torrents of abuse severely impacted my work and personal life. It drove me into a depression and made me suicidal for a time. So what's a little verbal provocation now? I said my mind is made up. A pig is a living creature too. I can't just stand by and watch it die. I fed all my years of research into the shredder and took my patents with me. I built this department from the ground up. Without my files, the whole place would be left completely exposed. Gu Qing confronted me loudly. How could you do this? I said it was fine. Without me, you still have the pediatric goddess, don't you? With her here, it'll definitely work out. You've got this. 3. I went home and got back to work that very day. After experiencing a day of pig farming here, I came to a conclusion. Saving people is not as rewarding as raising pigs. At least the pigs won't turn around and bite me. Thinking back on my many years in medicine, I've saved so many patients. I often care more about their life and death than even their own family members do. I take every patient seriously. I study their reports. I compare their current condition. Then, I develop a tailored plan for them. Many people only see the long list of tests I order, not realizing I've already pared it down to the absolute essentials. Besides, most of it is covered by insurance, so it doesn't cost much. Yet, despite all this care, in the eyes of the patients' families, I'm still just a money-grubbing, unethical doctor. In that case, I quit. After returning, I started using my medical knowledge to scientifically raise pigs. I occasionally livestreamed some little-known facts about pigs. I also covered the popular topic of postpartum care for sows, which helped me gain quite a few followers for a while. With all those tips coming in, this guy's living the high life, no worse off than a doctor. But Fu Qing was frantic, calling me non-stop. The hospital is swamped with patients. We're completely overwhelmed. Come back and help us. Help so I can be your free labor and let Su Yan steal my work. I'm not that stupid. There's no way I'm going back. I can't bear to leave the hundreds of pigs I've been raising, but I can certainly give her a good recommendation. I immediately posted an update on my social media and live stream. I have resigned, but don't worry, everyone. I left because there are better doctors at the hospital now. I formally introduced Su Yan. She can diagnose a child's illness just by holding them. Everyone should go see her. I also highlighted all of Su Yan's remarkable achievements. Before long, Gu Qing came to confront me. What are you doing? I said, just giving her some free publicity. She's the new generation's miracle doctor, our pride and joy. I'm just happy for her. But if you do that, won't all the patients go to her? She can't possibly handle that many people by herself. I followed his line of thought and said, but you're still here, aren't you? What did he say when he recommended Su Yan in the first place? She's brilliant, the pride of their entire village. I could tell from her thesis that she wasn't up to par, but Gu Qing kept singing her praises in my ear. We're from the same hometown, so I figured I should lend a hand if I could. We've been thick as thieves since we were in diapers. Just do me this one favor. He personally wrote her recommendation letters and pulled strings left and right for her, putting in more effort than I did as her girlfriend. He even had the nerve to say, fine, if it comes To it, I'll take over her patients. Will that satisfy you? Now I'm throwing those exact same words right back at him. What are you implying? I'm talking to you this nicely, and you still refuse to help. If that's the case, maybe we should just break up. In the past, I would have been heartbroken, but not anymore, because in my past life, when I died, that despicable couple showed up arm in arm. Su-Yan looked at me lying in the ICU with a smug face. Well, so this is the once unrivaled legendary Director Fu of Pediatrics. Turns out you're nothing special after all, but I should thank you. If I hadn't copied your reports, I wouldn't have reached such heights today. She nestled in Gu Qing's arms with a radiant smile. Darling, I really have to thank you for taking one for the team. I wouldn't be where I am today without you. Good, you understand. If it weren't for you, why would I have ever pursued such a dull and boring woman? They started getting frisky right in front of me. It was only then that I realized Gu Qing had pursued me so relentlessly back then, all to pave the way for his girlfriend. First, they got my letter of recommendation, then they plagiarized my report to gradually become the savior of our team, and finally, when the time was ripe, they kicked me to the curb. Later, these two stole my unpublished research report, filed a patent, and received a huge bonus in the end. They became mentors, selling courses, and raking in a fortune. Meanwhile, I was left to bear the shame, hooked up to tubes in the ICU, painfully gasping my last breath. This time, I'm going to do the exact opposite. After hyping up Su-Yan, a huge crowd showed up at the hospital entrance in no time, all scrambling to get an appointment with her. A good 100 people. Let's see how she handles that with her half-baked skills. For the patients' families are incredibly enthusiastic, and many specifically request her for consultations. They even praise her as a miracle doctor of our time. If just a simple hug can do the trick, that's wonderful. It means our child suffers less. Exactly. Even if the consultation fee is a bit higher, it's no problem at all. We came here specifically for her. We absolutely must see Dr. Su today. A group of people, with their children in tow, crowded right in front of her consultation room. The nurse had no choice but to have them take a number and wait in line. They formed a long queue, and the atmosphere on site was electric. However, the main character, Su-Yan, was nowhere to be seen. Gradually, the patients' families lost their patience and stormed up to the hospital director, demanding she be brought out. Only then did Su-Yan arrive belatedly, explaining that she was late due to a morning meeting. Dr. Su, thank goodness you're here. My child has been vomiting for no reason since yesterday. Could you please take a look? With that, a parent practically shoved their child into her arms. The child immediately burst into tears. Su-Yan was mortified. You could tell she was guilty just from the look on her face. Honestly, with her skill level, she'd struggle as a village doctor, let alone treat complex cases. The moment she picked up the child, her expression was priceless. But that's none of my business. I'll just keep tending to my pigs. I woke up to Gu Qing's relentless barrage of calls again. Ah Ling, I've got a case here. Could you take a look? I scoffed. Didn't we agree to break up? Why are you coming to me now? Gu Qing gave an awkward laugh. That was all said in the heat of the moment. Why take it so seriously? Besides, we're both doctors. No matter how angry we are, we can't mess around with a patient's case. Just do it as a favor. He sent over the medical records. I know this move all too well. He pulled the same stunt in my past life. He'd often send me cases to help solve, and out of affection for him as my boyfriend, I couldn't really say no. I used my off-duty hours to study the cases and even drafted a detailed plan, outlining the subsequent treatment steps in full. Little did I know, all that work ended up in Su-Yan's hands and became the leverage for her promotion and raise. But this time, I didn't refuse. I followed the same old routine and handed the report over to him, although I did tweak the data a little. While I don't know how Su-Yan got a hold of my report ahead of time in my past life, one thing I'm sure of is that Gu Qing was definitely the middleman. I watched with a smile as he took back the report I'd deliberately filled with errors, then settled in for a good night's sleep. The next day, my phone was blowing up. I knew it. Good news was on the way. 5. The phone was ringing off the hook. Gu Qing's voice was urgent. What's going on? We followed your report to the letter. How could this happen? Do you have any idea that several patients have fallen into a coma? Now they're all rushing to the hospital with their kids, demanding an explanation. What are we going to do? You need to give them an answer. They've stormed into the hospital. That's fantastic. After all, I personally experienced just how unhinged these parents can be. They're utterly unreasonable and incredibly aggressive, quick to resort to violence against medical staff. Just imagining it, I can already picture how spectacular that scene would be. I saw the live stream footage online. One of the parents slapped her right then and there, shouting, "What kind of doctor are you? My son took the medicine you prescribed and started coughing up blood last night, and my daughter, her stomach was already bothering her, And after taking your medicine, look at her now. Her belly is swollen like she's about to give birth, and my son, he was crying and fussing the entire night yesterday. He cried himself hoarse faced with the parents' questioning. Su-Yen initially tried to maintain a calm facade, stating, "Any illness requires a course of treatment. Please, there's no need to worry. Even a miracle drug wouldn't work that fast. Please, be patient." But the parents weren't fools. They knew exactly what was going on with their own children, so they decided they weren't leaving. "We'll wait right here until you give us a proper explanation. Listen, if my son's condition doesn't improve today, I'm going to tear this hospital apart, yeah, and I'll rip your head off." These people aren't just making empty threats. They're fully capable of following through. I learned that the hard way in my past life. No matter where you hide, they'll hunt you down to the ends of the earth. If they say they'll kill you, they won't leave you breathing. So Su-Yen was terrified. She barricaded herself in her office and refused to come out, and that's how we got to the opening scene, with Gu-Qing calling me, hoping to enlist me as outside help, but I didn't pick up. I said, "I'm feeding the pigs, whatever it is. We'll talk after this afternoon." He was going crazy. This afternoon? If we wait until this afternoon, it'll be a total disaster. What's doomed? Ah, I can't hear you. The wind is really loud over here. I hung up immediately after saying that, otherwise, I would have burst out laughing, and that would have been so awkward. The next moment, Gu-Qing's call came through again. There were countless other messages, all pretty much saying the same thing, begging me to come back and save the day. Just then, my apprentice from across the ocean messaged me, "Master, is this guy your boyfriend?" He sent over a screenshot. I took one look and thought, well, I'll be darned, it really is him. The funniest part was when he told me that Gu-Qing pretended to be a patient for an online consultation. At first, he didn't recognize him, but he started to get suspicious when the questions being asked became increasingly professional. He did a quick search, discovered the profile picture was identical to my boyfriend's, and then told me all about it. I just had to laugh. That Gu-Qing is such a clever little devil. It's a pity, but after all these years in medicine, I have connections to spare. I even have former students practicing abroad. I told my student, just tell him directly that the report I gave him contains an error. I'm really curious to see how Gu-Qing will react once he finds out about this. 6. Sure enough, Gu-Qing called again. Not a moment later, I answered it, but I let the pig take the call. "Fu Ling, what is wrong with you? There's actually a mistake in the data you gave me. Do you have any idea this could get someone killed?" The Sao responded, you admit it, I never thought you were this kind of person. You were never like this before. What's happened to you?" The Sao lets out a shriek. "Hee, how dare you laugh? Do you have any idea how many children could be hurt because of your mistake? Don't you feel even a shred of guilt? Say something." The Sao rallies the whole family to respond in unison. Hoo. Gu-Qing was taken aback, suddenly realizing something was off. "Are you even listening to me? Fu Ling." Just then, he received a call. "What? I'm on the phone with a pig, and it's being live-streamed. This guy's only just seeing it now." That's right, I didn't want to talk to him, so I let the pig do it instead. I thought it was hilarious, and the viewers loved it too. They just kept sending me gifts. I've made a decent amount of money from it so far. Want me to read some of the comments for you? I cleared my throat and said, "How did someone with that IQ even become a doctor? I'm seriously starting to wonder if he cheated." Absolutely, I suggest a thorough investigation. Some people just found it hilarious. Does he even realize those sound noises were basically them trying to mate with him? I read them out to him, one by one. Gu-Qing let out a hoarse cry, trying to speak, but after his long-winded tirade, not a single sound could escape his throat. In the end, he could only type to ask me what on earth was going on. I said, "I only meant for you to use it as a reference. Who told you to put it into practice, you man? Raising pigs is exhausting. I might have accidentally recorded a few data points incorrectly during the process." Gu-Qing was so furious he sent over a dozen voice messages in one go. I said, "Why are you so worked up? Didn't I state in the report that this is just a trial phase thing? It hasn't been used on humans in clinical settings yet, so what could possibly go wrong?" He asked cautiously, "Well, what would happen if it were used on a person? It's not that big of a deal. It just worsens the illness, can cause vomiting blood, severe diarrhea, and shortness of breath. In serious cases, it might even be fatal." As soon as I finished speaking, I faintly heard Su-Yan sobbing coming from the other end of the phone. I felt absolutely ecstatic inside. 7. The copycat is hoist with his own petard, all out of tricks now. Starting to panic, are we? While he was busy talking to the pig, I checked out other live streams and saw what was really going down. Holy cow. The hospital was in absolute chaos. A mob of frantic parents had gathered and blocked the entrance to her office. A team of security guards was trying to maintain order, but they were hopelessly outnumbered. The heart-wrenching cries of children instantly became the catalyst that escalated the conflict. The parents went berserk. On the count of 3, they charged the door, dragged Su-Yen out, and seized her. "So here you are, nice and cool with the AC while we've been out here looking for you. Listen up. If you don't give us a proper explanation today, you're dead meat." The crowd was too big. Even if security wanted to protect her, it was impossible. That's why Guqing was in such a hurry to ask me just now. His tone softened. "Are you really telling me there's nothing you can do? You're a doctor. Where's your sense of responsibility?" Responsibility. I used to be incredibly dedicated. I truly believed my profession was a sacred calling to save lives, so even when faced with challenges, I would give it my absolute all, because I deeply understood that saving a child meant saving an entire family. But what was the result? Time and again, the fruits of my hard work were stolen, and I was branded as an unethical doctor. I'm doing well just by not going on a rampage, and you have the nerve to lecture me. I'm raising pigs now. This stuff has nothing to do with me. Seeing my thick-skinned and shameless attitude, Guqing was frantic. He pleaded with me, trying every argument to get me to come up with a plan. "Do it for the sake of all our years of friendship." Friendship. Now you want to talk about friendship? Ugh, disgusting, I teased him. "Well, it's not like there's no way." He was overjoyed. "What is it? You could go up the mountain to pray at the temple. Who knows, it might just work." "How could you do this? Why shouldn't I be able to?" "In my past life, when I was desperate and begged him to take me in, how did he treat me? He broke up with me on the spot and kicked me right out. He even went online to twist the knife, implying that I only did this because I was under financial pressure from buying a house recently, saying, 'Please forgive her mistake.' For my own boyfriend to say something like that, wasn't he just setting me up to take the fall? And the worst part is, he anonymously leaked my address online, sending those parents straight to my door. In my past life, I was always puzzled about how they found out. It wasn't until I saw the messages on his phone, right before I resigned, that I finally understood. He had gathered all the parents who were unhappy with me into a group chat, under the guise of advocating for the patients. He was actually stirring up their emotions. He incited them to take extreme actions. When they came to confront me, I explained my treatment philosophy to them sincerely, to identify the root cause as quickly as possible, so the child would genuinely suffer less. A significant number of parents had understood my point and acknowledged that medical examination was necessary. They simply couldn't bear to see their children cry and fuss. But at that moment, several parents, brainwashed by Guqing and driven to irrationality, suddenly rushed out and stabbed me to death. If it weren't for his big mouth, I wouldn't have died in my previous life. And now you have the nerve to come begging me. What the hell are you asking for? I said, "I'm just a butcher now. What's the big deal if I'm not precise? I've only tested this on pigs." "Why are you so nervous? You didn't use it on a person, did you?" I could clearly hear Guqing's breathing grow noticeably more rapid over the phone. "Oh, getting scared, getting worked up, that's more like it. That's exactly the effect I was going for," I said. "Then I'll make an announcement right away, telling everyone that if they have those illnesses, they absolutely must not take the medicine as I described above, or it could be life-threatening." I pretended to speak with great urgency. Upon hearing this, Guqing was stunned and began to grasp my meaning. You mean you already published this paper online?" "Exactly. Isn't that just my long-standing habit?" Guqing realized the severity of the situation and let out a terrified shriek. When did you upload it? Why didn't you tell me? If you don't upload your own work right away, what if someone with ill intentions gets their hands on it? Forget about losing your own work. Ugh, imagine how awful it would be to get framed for it instead. Enough talk. I need to go issue a statement. To put it bluntly, anyone who follows that medication regimen will run into trouble. However, by the time I wrote this paper, I had already quit my job to raise pigs. I stated this up front, so don't come to me with any issues. I'm just an amateur. As soon as I posted it, someone came at me. "Do you really think you can wash your hands of this just by saying it has nothing to do with you?" I knew someone would ask that, and I was prepared for it from the start. I wasn't even a doctor when I wrote this paper. And hey, buddy, maybe take a look at the name of this website. It's called Amateur Medical Enthusiast Hub for a reason. Since we're all amateurs here, what's wrong with me being a little unprofessional? Besides, it's not like I published this paper anywhere. You should be more concerned about who actually prescribed you that medication. With that little nudge from me, the penny finally dropped for them. Dr. Su-Yen was the one who prescribed the medication for us. That's strange. If no one else has seen this thesis, how did Dr. Su know about it? Could it be plagiarized? Let's go ask her. Everyone rose up against her, not only blocking the female supporting character's consultation room but also demanding an explanation from her. Su-Yen was dragged out, her expression one of utter mortification. As if being publicly shamed, she stammered, I'll figure something out. Then, devastating news arrived from the hospital. A child, having taken the medication Su Yan prescribed, had suffered a severe reaction. The child had fallen into a coma that morning and had just been rushed in for emergency treatment. Despite the resuscitation team's efforts, they were unable to save the child. The parents, refusing to accept the outcome, demanded a thorough investigation. The findings were shocking. The cause was acute kidney failure resulting from a drug overdose. What's going on? My son's kidneys were perfectly fine. How could they fail? Did you, this doctor, prescribe the wrong medication? What finally enraged the parents was a single line in the assessment report. If this condition had been checked earlier, some medication would have sufficed, and it wouldn't have come to this. Their fury ignited instantly, and they grabbed Su Yan and started beating her. Didn't you say you could diagnose the child just by holding them? So much for being a baby whisperer. It was all a sham. You even plagiarized Director Fu's research. Give me back my son's life. They each took a swing at her, beating her until she was wailing in pain. Someone in the crowd sighed and said, it's all because of this wicked woman. If she hadn't schemed to drive Director Fu away, none of this would have happened. If he were still here, that's true. Director Fu might have ordered a lot of tests, but he was very thorough and could actually cure the child's illness. Actually, Director Fu had excellent medical ethics. Last time, he even came to my house personally to watch me administer the medicine, because that kind of medication needs to be taken on a strict schedule and dosage. He was worried I might give the child the wrong amount. Exactly. She even went out of her way to add me on WeChat to ask about my child's recovery. I really think Director Fu is incredibly dedicated. It's such a shame that people online were saying she had no medical ethics. I feel so indignant on her behalf. After saying that, they all turned to look at Su Yan, the one who caused me to resign. It's her. She somehow plagiarized Director Fu's work, slapped on some ridiculous title like Baby Whisperer, and drove away such an excellent doctor like Director Fu. If it weren't for her, my son would still be alive. The parents lost all reason and swarmed Su Yan in a frenzy. Watching through the screen, I clenched my fist and shouted, yes, 9. Just then, the hospital's investigation team arrived and immediately proved that Su Yan's research papers over the years had all been plagiarized from my work. Not only were all her titles revoked, but she was also fired on the spot. It all started after I posted that statement online, and people began to speak up for me voluntarily. They investigated Su Yan's papers from recent years and found not only traces of my work, but also that her current medication protocols were identical to mine. What else could it be but plagiarism? They also interviewed the hospital where Su Yan had previously worked. They said Su Yan was highly incompetent. She frequently received complaints from patients. A baby whisperer. Don't make me laugh. She can't even handle her own child without breaking down. Calling her a baby whisperer is utterly ridiculous. Under pressure, the hospital also launched an investigation and uncovered numerous suspicious points. Through a series of maneuvers, Su Yan was swiftly dethroned, becoming a useless charlatan in the eyes of the parents. Su Yan was terrified and screamed for help. Gu Qing, standing nearby, wanted to step in and help, but seeing the overwhelming crowd, he too grew afraid, pretended not to hear, and tried to slip away. Su Yan's face fell, and she cried out, Gu Qing, are you just going to walk away? How could you do this to me? Such a suggestive remark immediately caught everyone's attention. Isn't Dr. Gu Director Fu's boyfriend? Why does it seem like he and Su Yan are on good terms? Gu Qing looked utterly exasperated, desperate to distance himself from her. No, we're just colleagues, that's all. Believing she had been abandoned, Su Yan laid their relationship bare in an instant. If you don't help me, I'll get an abortion right now. The crowd erupted in an uproar. I was shocked too. No wonder Gu Qing was willing to be at her beck and call. She had a hostage. Gu Qing's face turned ashen with rage, his teeth clenched. So, this happened during a live stream. Someone online asked me what I thought about it. Patting a pig, I sighed and said, why do you think I gave up a glamorous career as a doctor to come here and raise pigs? That remark instantly struck a chord with the netizens. They voluntarily spilled the tea on their relationship. The outcome was far more shocking than I had imagined. Not only have many people seen them cuddling in private, but they've also been playing cards together in the office, and I have the pictures to prove it. A kind netizen posted the pictures online. Now I finally understand what Gu Qing meant by growing up bare-assed with Su Yan. This is exactly the kind of bear he was talking about. I let out a cold laugh. That bastard, Gu Qing. After all these years of living off me, using my resources to climb the ladder, this is the disgusting way he repays me behind my back. Even though I already knew he had betrayed me, seeing those shocking comments still cut me deep. For instance, in the online expose, he complained that I was boring and said I had no femininity whatsoever. She's the kind of woman who makes your libido shrivel up at first sight, so, given a second chance, I've already figured out how to deal with him. I called the police. Hello, officer. Someone has plagiarized my thesis. It contains a lot of state secrets, 10 in my past life. I could never figure it out. How could Su Yan possibly know the things I had thought up in my head, things I had never told a soul? For a while, I was completely obsessed, genuinely convinced she was some kind of psychic. It wasn't until I cleared out all my files before resigning that I finally discovered the secret. It turns out my computer had been implanted with a spyware. The thing was incredibly stealthy, hidden right within the medical system. I discreetly asked someone in the know, and they told me, for every single character you type, that same character would appear on the other person's computer. Who that other person was went without saying. To prove it, I deliberately typed, I just saw Su Yan and Director Chi kissing in the drug storage room, and today, Su Yan even lifted her black panties to show him. I had just finished typing when I heard Gu Qing burst into Su Yan's office, loudly confronting her. In that moment, everything became clear to me. No wonder, the day I asked Gu Qing to help fix my computer, it was such a coincidence that Su Yan awakened her baby whisperer ability the very next day. Looking back now, it's truly chilling to think about. So after my rebirth, I stored a lot of documents on my computer, some of which were only accessible to someone at my director level. Some were even classified files. That day, I deliberately said to Gu Qing, even though I'm resigning, I still wanted to say goodbye to everyone. This moment was meant for him. If he hadn't been greedy, none of this would have happened, but he went ahead and did it anyway, copying all my documents with both witnesses and evidence against him. He's done for this time. Are you setting me up? Gu Qing glared at me angrily. I'm already on site. Some things just need to be seen with my own eyes. I smiled faintly. What do you mean, setting you up? Let me ask you this. How did my perfectly fine thesis end up in your hands? How do you explain that? I didn't ask you to cheat, did I? I didn't ask you to help her plagiarize, did I? You were the one who stole my paper, and now you're blaming me. With so many people here, some things don't need to be said out loud. Everyone's eyes say it all. As for Su Yan, I gave her a cool, detached glance. Honestly, I have a lot of things I'd love to say, but having died once, I've learned to be smarter. Sometimes, retreating in order to advance is the ultimate strategy. I said, forget it. I did want to come back to practice medicine, but, just forget it. That remark successfully provoked their anger. It's all because of you that Director Fu refuses to come back, you monster. I'm going to rid the world of you right now. Everyone was kicking and punching her, even with people trying to keep order. It was useless. In no time, they had beaten Su Yan so badly she lost control of her bladder. It looks like she might not even be able to breathe. I sneered inwardly. She totally deserved it. After that, many people begged me to come out of retirement. I kept on with my pig farming business, occasionally going live on stream. My simple life was quite comfortable and satisfying. The hospital sent wave after wave of people to see me, saying that if I just came back, I could name my own terms. I just smiled faintly and said, I'm afraid of repeating the same mistakes. The moment I said it, they understood instantly. The very next day, I received 2 pieces of wonderful news. The first was that the hospital ceased treatment for Su Yan, leaving her paralyzed from the waist down as I had intended. The second was that Gu Qing was locked away for good on charges of stealing state secrets. I went to see him once. He snarled at me like a rabid dog. It was you who set me up, wasn't it? LMAO. How does he even have the nerve to say something like that now? I might as well admit it. Yes, actually, the hospital helped out here too. They quietly upgraded the classification of the document I submitted earlier from confidential to top secret. Perfect. Gu Qing is going away for a long, long time. After getting out, I posted an update. I'll be back once I've raised this batch of piggies. This time, nothing and no one will stand in my way. The end. Story 2. During a graduation trip deep sea diving, I got trapped in a cave. Just as my oxygen was running critically low, I discovered the backup tank was empty. Before I could even ask, my fiancé was the first to speak up and explain. I'm sorry, I gave the backup oxygen to Jojo. You'll have to control your breathing and hold on for a bit. Tapping on the icy, empty tank, I asked him, my consciousness fading, are you just going to leave me here to die? He snapped impatiently, there's plenty of oxygen in the cave, can't you just hold on a little longer? Xiao has claustrophobia, she needs the oxygen more than you do, you can't just stand by and watch her suffer, can you? Besides, it's just 1 oxygen canister. Do you have to make such a big deal out of it? When did you become so heartless? I didn't reply anymore. Before my consciousness faded, I sent a text to my dad, "Dad, send a rescue team, and while you're at it, withdraw all investments in the Lin family. Hello everyone, and welcome to Takata Novel Society. Today, I'm sharing an interesting new story with you all." I had just finished sending the message to my dad and hadn't had time to send my location yet. Lin Zicheng snatched my satellite phone right out of my hand. Bang! He picked up a rock from the shore and smashed it down with all his might. "Using your father to threaten me again, you're in your 20s and still running to mommy and daddy." I ignored him, the air in my lungs rapidly depleting. The cave was oxygen poor, and a suffocating sensation instantly seized my throat. Strapped to Zhao Wanxiao's back was my spare oxygen tank, and she slowly flashed me a taunting smile. "Sis, you're not mad, are you? But my research mission is far more important than your sightseeing. We have to prioritize the bigger picture. Aiching said you hold a free diving record. I suppose you don't need this." Then, she took another drag, savoring the oxygen I depended on to live. My eyes were locked on her, and on Lin Zicheng standing behind her. I had prepared meticulously for this deep dive. Bringing an extra oxygen tank was precisely for dealing with any unforeseen circumstances. I never expected that the only unforeseen circumstance would be my fiancé. I didn't cry, nor did I make a scene. Instead, I calmly arrived at a conclusion. This might not be an accident, but murder. Lin Zicheng and Zhao Wanxiao were still laughing at me. "Cat got your tongue. Did the lack of oxygen scare you, stupid?" Lin Zicheng walked over, looking at Zhao Wanxiao with understanding. "Don't worry, there's plenty of oxygen in this cave, enough for her to breathe for a good while. She's not going to die. She's just being dramatic, trying to get my attention." I was too weak to argue, feeling only a sharp sting in my leg. Looking down, I saw a long gash torn open by the reef in the chaos, blood welling up and spilling out. In the deep sea, the scent of blood attracts sharks. I had to tend to the wound immediately. I took the hemostatic spray out of the first aid kit, but the moment I got the bottle out, Lin Zicheng snatched it away. Chiachia's hand got scratched too. He showed no trace of remorse on his face as he carefully cradled Zhao Wanxiao's hand, where there was only a faint, barely visible red mark. What if a young lady ends up with a scar? Zhao Wanxiao immediately feigned fragility, leaning into Lin Zicheng's arms. "Aiching, this is all my fault. Sister Yao Yao is hurt worse than I am. You should give it to her first." "Absolutely not." Lin Zicheng refused outright, his tone full of concern. "Your hands are far too precious. You need them for delicate experiments in the future. She's tough. She'll be fine." He unscrewed the spray cap and meticulously applied it to Zhao Wanxiao's insignificant wound. But my wound was still bleeding profusely. "If the bleeding doesn't stop, I'll go into shock." I stared at Lin Zicheng with resentment, yet he thought I was putting on an act and snorted with derision. "This old trick again, Jiang Yao. I've seen this self-injury ploy of yours since we were kids. I'm long since sick of it." Zhao Wanxiao, meanwhile, was fanning the flames from the sidelines. "Sister Yao, even if you can't stand me, you shouldn't play with your own life like this. Aiching would be worried." With that, she took the spray from Lin Zicheng and, right in front of me, emptied nearly the entire remaining bottle onto her own hand. Seeing the smug look in her eyes, I was so furious my vision went dark. Blood loss and lack of oxygen made my vision grow increasingly blurry. I reached out, trying to snatch my medical kit back. Lin Zicheng, thinking I was about to attack Zhao Wanxiao, shot me a fierce glare. He raised his foot and kicked me square in the chest. The impact sent me flying backward, and I slammed hard against the rock wall behind me. Zhao Wanxiao let out a feigned shriek of fright, and the entire medical kit tumbled into the bottomless fissure of the water channel beside her. That was my last hope. Now, it's completely gone. "Jiang Yao, you're getting more and more vicious. You're so used to being the young mistress, you think everyone has to revolve around you. What has Chiachiao ever done to you, that you treat her like this?" Watching him glare at me with such fury for another woman, my heart felt like it was being squeezed in a vice, the pain so sharp I couldn't breathe. Bracing myself against the ground, I mustered every ounce of strength and drove my foot hard into his abdomen. Lin Zicheng doubled over from the blow, letting out a pained grunt, clutching his stomach, his face contorted with a mixture of rage and agony. "You're asking for it." He picked up a rock and was about to hurl it at me. Just then, his satellite phone suddenly rang. The moment he answered, his father's furious roar came through. "You ungrateful wretch, what have you done to Jiang Yao?" Chairman Jiang himself called me. "I don't care what you did, you must bring Jiang Yao back safely, right now." Lin Zicheng's face turned deathly pale as he finally grasped the gravity of the situation. He snapped his head toward me, his eyes burning with intense hatred. "Jiang Yao, you've really grown a backbone, haven't you? Are you satisfied now that I've been chewed out?" The expedition team members, always following Lin Zicheng's lead, all joined in to point their fingers at me. "What a buzzkill, You can't do anything right, just dead weight. Exactly. I can't for the life of me understand why they'd bring a pampered little princess like you on such a critical deep-sea mission. What they don't know is that the entire funding for this expedition, their salaries and the exorbitant cost of equipment, came from an investment I secured from my father. All because Lindsay Cheng begged me on his knees. I opened my mouth, wanting to tell them everything, but I was lightheaded from oxygen deprivation. My chest felt like it was being crushed by a ton of bricks, and not a single sound would come out. Seeing this, Zhao Wanqiao immediately pretended to be terrified and hid behind Lindsay Cheng. Yao Yao, I'm sorry, it's all my fault, please don't be angry, but you shouldn't have tattled to your father over such a trivial matter, wasting all our hard work for so long. While her words were an apology, between the lines, she was implying that I was being unreasonable. Lindsay Cheng immediately shielded her protectively behind him, his heart aching for her. Why are you apologizing? She's the one being petty and jealous over nothing. There's nothing between me and Xia Qiao, we're just a regular senior and junior. Is that really such a big deal to you, Junior? I felt so absurd I wanted to laugh. Stealing your own fiancé's oxygen tank and life-saving medicine. For a regular underclassman, I opened my mouth to mock him, but due to the lack of oxygen, not a single word came out. Seeing me like that, the crowd only laughed louder. Look at her, putting on an act again. What a shame she didn't become an actress with that kind of performance. Exactly, faking an illness just because she's jealous. That's so typical of her. Lindsay Cheng had completely lost his patience. He thought I was pretending to be sick just to get his attention. Enough already. Stop making a spectacle of yourself here. He dragged me roughly and hauled me into a deep pit within the cave. You can stay right here and reflect on your actions. The pit walls were slick. When I fell, I injured my knee again, making it impossible to climb out. Help me, Lindsay Cheng. The expedition members outside heard my cries for help and grew quietly concerned. She's not in any real danger in there, is she? I mean, she is the young mistress of the Jiang family after all. What if? There is no what if. Lindsay Cheng cut them off sharply. She made her mistake and must face the consequences. If anyone else dares to speak up for her, they can join her in that pit. After that was said, no one dared to plead for me again. Lindsay Cheng's cold voice came from above. Leave her there by herself. We'll pull her up when she comes to her senses. I watched the water level in the pit slowly rise, my anxiety growing by the second. Guess I'm on my own. I pulled the rope from the first aid kit and hurled it upwards. Just as I was about to pull myself up, a shadow fell over me. It was Zhao Wanqiao. She crouched by the pit's edge, a knowing smirk playing on her lips, the dagger in her hand gleaming with a cold, deadly light. With a sharp snap, the rope broke. I tumbled back into the muddy water. Sis, I forgot to mention, Cheng never loved you. Not once. She took off the oxygen tank that should have been mine. He said it was exhausting, always having to humor you and cater to your spoiled princess tantrums. If you weren't still useful to him, he would have kicked you to the curb long ago. She opened the valve and emptied every last bit of oxygen right in front of me. Well, you won't be needing this anymore anyway. 3. I could only watch, helpless, as Zhao Wanqiao finished it all, but I didn't even have the strength left to scream. She tossed the empty bottle aside and then waved another item in front of my eyes. It was the data I'd been collecting over the past few days. Oh, right. And then there's this. Her smile grew even more smug. So, this is the deep-sea data you've been pulling all-nighters to compile. What a shame. With those words, she let go. The memory card, containing all my painstaking work, drifted from her fingers and vanished into the churning undercurrent below. No, I screamed in desperation. That was my life's work, the fruit of countless sleepless nights and relentless effort. My shouts finally caught the attention of Lindsay Cheng and the others nearby. He rushed over at the sound, only to be met with a completely different scene. Zhao Wanqiao's expression instantly changed. With a sharp awe, she shrieked, threw herself backward, summoned tears on the spot, and sobbed as she flung herself into Lindsay Cheng's arms. Cheng, I was just trying to help sister up, but she pushed me. She pointed at the hard drive in the water, sobbing her accusation. She destroyed all our data. I was left speechless, with no defense. Lindsay Cheng looked at me, his eyes filled with nothing but cold disgust and fury. Jiang Yao, you're beyond redemption. Are you so determined to drag everyone down with you in your madness? It wasn't me, it was her. She's the one who destroyed the data. I pointed at Zhao Wanqiao, my voice trembling violently in my desperate attempt to defend myself, but Lindsay Cheng wouldn't listen to a word of my explanation. The way he looked at me was as if I were a complete and utter lunatic. She's insane, a complete lunatic. All our hard work, ruined by her. My mouth hung open, and I shook my head desperately. But no sound of protest would come out. Why would he rather believe a woman Full of lies, then trust me. His fiancée of 3 years, Zhao Wanqiao, fanned the flames from the sidelines. Ching, Sister Yao Yao might have just had a momentary lapse in judgment. Don't blame her. Lin Zicheng gently held the trembling Zhao Wanqiao in his arms, comforting her in a soft voice. Don't be afraid, I'm here. No one can hurt you. She's just jealous and spiteful. She can't stand to see you happy. He turned his head, looking down at me, and spoke each word deliberately. Jiang Yao. You will apologize to Chia Chia this instant, otherwise, you can stay right in this hole until you learn how to be a decent human being. Apologize. I watched him slander and humiliate me in front of others, all for the sake of another woman seeing my painstaking research destroyed, then being forced to apologize to the very person who ruined it. My heart felt like it was about to shatter. Despair, rage, heartache. All these emotions tangled together. I looked at him and suddenly laughed. Both Lin Zicheng and Zhao Wanqiao were stunned under their astonished gazes. My body went limp, and I completely lost consciousness with the last of my strength. In the final second before blacking out, I pressed the button on my watch. Dad, if I don't make it back, kill them for me. For just before I lost consciousness, I thought I heard Lin Zicheng's panicked cry, Jiang Yao, stop pretending. I managed to pry my eyes open a sliver and saw Zhao Wanqiao rushing to the front. Her face was etched with worry, yet a hint of a mischievous grin played at the corner of her mouth. Impossible to hide. Sister Yao, wake up, she cried out as if in distress, but her hand pressed down viciously on the deep, bone-exposing gash on my thigh, then ground into it with all her might. Agony shot through my entire body. I let out a piercing shriek from the pain and jolted awake. This was no rescue attempt. She was clearly trying to make me bleed out before anyone could pull me to safety. Realizing this, I instinctively pushed her away with all my strength. Get away from me. Lin Wan staggered back a few steps from my shove, then immediately put on that pitiful, delicate act again, looking tearfully at Lin Zicheng as he rushed over. Ching, I was only trying to help stop her bleeding. Seeing this, Lin Zicheng flew into a rage. He rushed over and shoved me aside. The back of my head slammed hard against a rock, and the world instantly spun. Jiang Yao, you ungrateful wretch. Chiao Chiao risked her life coming down here to save you, and you had the nerve to hurt her. Have you no conscience at all? The look he gave me was filled with disappointment and disgust. It seems I need to teach you a lesson you won't forget. Once we're up there, you're going to regret this. I looked at his face, twisted with rage, and felt a cold emptiness inside. I might not make it out of here. Just when I thought I was truly going to die in this icy cave, a blindingly intense light pierced through the water layer, shining down and illuminating the entire cave as bright as day. Everyone was stunned by this sudden turn of events. Several figures in rescue gear emerged from the water. The man at the front shoved Lin Zicheng aside. Everyone, clear the way. He rushed straight to my side, knelt down, and carefully checked my pupils and pulse. His fingers were ice cold, yet his touch was incredibly gentle. The casualty is severely hypoxic, has lost a lot of blood, and has a weak pulse. Initiate emergency treatment immediately. He calmly issued orders to the team members behind him. Lin Zicheng was stunned. He stared at the scene before him and shouted in disbelief, "Who are you? Who sent you?" The man in charge didn't even look up. As he expertly fitted the oxygen mask over my face, he coldly uttered a few words. "You don't have the right to know." As the fresh oxygen flooded my lungs, my muddled consciousness finally cleared for a moment. I saw the look of utter disbelief on Lin Zicheng's face. He probably couldn't fathom why anyone would come to rescue me. It seemed only at this moment did he realize I wasn't faking my illness. I was truly on the verge of death. As the stretcher was slowly hoisted up and passed by Lin Zicheng, I mustered every last ounce of my strength to mouth a silent word to him. "You're finished," over the satellite phone. His father's voice trembled with a mixture of extreme rage and lingering fear. "Yao Yao, you're awake. Thank goodness, Dad." My voice was weak and hoarse. "Don't speak, just rest." My father took a deep breath, and his voice turned cold as steel in an instant. "Not a single one of the people who hurt you will get away." 5. When I came to fully, I was already inside the top-tier medical bay of the research vessel. The first thing that met my eyes was Pei Qingyan's calm and focused face. He was wearing a spotless white lab coat, meticulously adjusting the vital signs monitor beside me. Awake, he turned his head and saw my eyes open, a flicker of relief passing through his gaze, almost too subtle to notice. "How are you feeling, Captain Gu?" I spoke. "My throat is dry as sandpaper." He immediately handed me a cup of warm water, dipped a cotton swab in it, and carefully moistened my lips. "Just call me Yanzhou," he said softly. 5 minutes later, and your brain would have suffered irreversible, permanent damage from oxygen deprivation. You're really lucky. I just didn't want to die at the hands of that Despicable pair. No sooner had the words been spoken than the medbay door was flung open. My father strode in. The moment he saw the thick bandage on my leg, his eyes instantly welled up. This titan of the business world now had a tremor in his voice. Yao Yao, it's all Daddy's fault. He hurried to the bedside, took my hand, his voice filled with heartache and guilt. It's my fault. I'm sorry I was late, that I let you suffer so much. Dad, it's not your fault. I clasped his hand in return, and my tears began to fall. The father took a deep breath, a flash of ruthlessness flickering in his eyes. I swear, I'll make that little bastard Lindsay Cheng pay. Pei Qingyan gently reminded from the side. Chairman Jiang Yao still needs rest and quiet. She shouldn't experience any major emotional fluctuations. At that very moment, the medbay door was suddenly flung open. Lindsay Cheng barged in. Having broken through the guard's attempts to stop him, his face was haggard, his beard unkempt, and his eyes were bloodshot. Gone was any trace of his former handsome, dashing appearance. He threw himself at my bedside, his face a mask of utter remorse. Yao Yao, I'm sorry. I truly didn't realize you were hurt that badly. I just wanted to teach you a lesson, to stop being so willful. I coldly pulled my hand back, looking at his hypocritical face, feeling nothing but utter disgust. Teach me a lesson. I looked at him, my gaze icy. Lindsay Cheng, in that cave, you and Zhao Wanqiao were wearing oxygen masks the whole time. How could you not know if there was enough oxygen? This wasn't negligence, you did it on purpose. I slowly walked towards him and asked with a smile, do you remember how cold that cave was? His face was deathly pale as he stammered out a frantic, incoherent defense. No, it's not. It was Cha Chiao. She said she has claustrophobia, that she can't be without oxygen. With a wave of my hand, my assistant presented the points agreement. I shattered into pieces right before Lindsay Cheng's eyes. From now on, all cooperation between the Jiang and Lin families is terminated. The surge of emotion made my head spin and my vision blur. I swayed, nearly tumbling off the bed. A steady, strong arm caught me just in time. It was Pei Qingyan. He steadied me, then turned and fixed Lindsay Cheng with an icy stare. You never cared whether she lived or died, and now you're putting on this act of devotion. Get out, now. Who the hell do you think you are? Lindsay Cheng roared at me, his eyes red. I'm her fiancé. No one in this world cares about her more than I do. That was then, not anymore. I looked at him and spoke, enunciating every single word. You threw me into a deep pit to die when I was at my most vulnerable and helpless, and you call that caring? When I cried for help, why didn't you believe me? Why did you give all the medicine to Zhao Wanqiao? I tore the bandage from my leg in one swift motion alongside the lacerations from the rocks. There was a ring of livid, purple bruising, a shocking sight. This is what your precious junior did to me while I was unconscious. Lindsay Cheng stared at the bruise, utterly stunned. His lips trembled, but no words came out. Get him out of here. My father could bear it no longer and roared at the guard at the door. Lindsay Cheng was hauled up by two burly security guards, still struggling desperately. Yao Yao, Uncle Jiang, I was wrong. I was truly wrong. Please, give me another chance. I'll make it up to you. I'll do anything to make it right. I closed my eyes and uttered three icy words. No need. 6. Lindsay Cheng knelt on the ground, weeping uncontrollably, his face a mess of tears and mucus. Uncle Jiang, our families have been partners for 20 years. You can't pull your investment now. If you do, my father will break my legs. He was still trying to explain. I really didn't realize it was this serious. I thought she was just jealous and trying to get my attention this way. He cried while slapping his own face with great force, each blow ringing out loud and clear. It's all my fault. I was out of my mind. I had no idea it would be this serious. The father trembled with rage, pointing at him and shouting furiously, what do you think? What do you take my daughter's life for? Lindsay Cheng, you're not just stupid, you're evil, evil to the core. Just then, the director of the research institute suddenly burst into the room. The moment he entered, he fell to his knees begging for mercy. Chairman Jiang, Miss Jiang, why the sudden decision to withdraw your investment when everything was going so well? Did Zicheng offend you? Please, allow me to apologize on his behalf. I couldn't even be bothered to look at him. Get out, you two, father roared, his finger jabbing at Director Wang's face. His fury barely contained. Director Wang was on the verge of tears, frantic with desperation. Chairman Jiang, after all these years of partnership, you're pulling the funding just like that. What about the 100 people at our institute? How are we supposed to fund our ongoing research? You're destroying a lifetime's work. Father let out a cold, derisive snort. The only reason I invested in your institute in the first place was because my daughter worked here. Now my daughter nearly lost her life on one of your research expeditions. Your institute bears undeniable responsibility for this." He paused, a sharp glint flashing in his eyes. "When my daughter was fighting for her life, did a single person from your institute step up to help? No, they just stood by, fanning the flames and kicking her while she was down." Director Wang, "Not only am I withdrawing my funding, but I will also file a real name report with the relevant authorities. Your institute has committed multiple regulatory violations during the scientific expedition, showing a complete disregard for human life." Director Wang's face instantly turned ashen. He never expected my father to take things this far. Lindsay Cheng, kneeling outside, finally panicked. But his thoughts weren't on my safety. Instead, he was worried about what would become of his institute after the funding was pulled. "Uncle Jiang, please don't. The institute is my life's work." "Shut up," the father snapped back. "Even now, all you can think about is your money, your projects. You don't care at all whether my daughter lives or dies." Director Wang finally grasped the gravity of the situation and turned to beg me for mercy. "Miss Jiang, it was truly our oversight." Lindsay Cheng is still young and foolish. That woman, Zhao Wanqiao, has completely bewitched him. Besides, pulling out the investment now wouldn't be good for our institute or your Jiang family, would it? His words carried an implicit meaning, laced with a subtle tone of threat. He thought he could use his connections higher up to pressure our Jiang family, hoping to make my father back down and sweep the whole thing under the rug. But his little scheme backfired. He was about to say more, but Pei Qingyan raised a hand to stop him. "Director Wang, the patient needs to rest. Please leave." Pei Qingyan's tone brooked no argument. Looking at Director Wang's obsequious face, I suddenly laughed and threw his own mocking words back at him. "Director Wang, haven't you always looked down on me as a spoiled little rich girl?" Director Wang rubbed his hands together awkwardly, a forced smile plastered across his face. That was all just a joke." "Miss Jiang, please, be magnanimous." "A joke." My smile turned even colder. "If I remember correctly, wasn't it you, Director Wang, who personally approved Zhao Wanqiao's special recruitment into this expedition team?" Director Wang's smile froze on his face. 7. Lindsay Cheng was about to explain further when the medbay door was slammed open once more. Zhao Wanqiao burst in like a madwoman, having clearly overheard the previous conversation. She immediately pointed a finger at my face and began shrieking accusations. "Jiang Yao, you vile woman, what makes you so special? Without the Jiang family, you're not even worthy of tying Cheng's shoes. Do you think Cheng loves you? He only loves me. It's always been me. You're the shameless one, using your family's filthy money to cling to him relentlessly." A deathly silence fell over the room. Lindsay Cheng's face instantly drained of color. He lunged forward, desperate to cover Zhao Wanqiao's mouth. "What nonsense are you talking? Shut your mouth." But it was already too late. "Why should I shut up?" Zhao Wanqiao shook him off forcefully and, in front of everyone, tore away the last shred of pretense. "Dare you say you got engaged to her not for your father's company to secure the Jiang family's investment, not so the Jiang family would fund your lousy research institute?" Looking at Lindsay Cheng's panicked face, my heart turned to ice. Seeing my reaction, Zhao Wanqiao smiled triumphantly. "Jiang Yao, do you see it now? Do you know how exhausting it is for Cheng to put up with you and go through the motions every single day? The one he truly loves is me. He loves me. I'm carrying his child." Smack, a sharp, resounding slap landed hard on Zhao Wanqiao's face. It was Lindsay Cheng who struck her. His eyes were bloodshot, like a cornered beast, as he roared, "Shut up, you crazy woman." He shoved all the blame onto Zhao Wanqiao. "It's all you. You're the one who stirred up trouble. You deliberately destroyed the data to frame Yao Yao." Zhao Wanqiao covered her swollen, reddened cheek, staring at him in disbelief. She never imagined that at the final moment, this man who had professed his love for her would, to save his own skin, throw her under the bus as his scapegoat. She let out a cold laugh, her eyes brimming with the sweet satisfaction of revenge. "Very well, Lindsay Cheng." From her handbag, she slowly produced a folded piece of paper. "Since you've shown no mercy, don't blame me for being ruthless. It was a pregnancy test result. I'm pregnant. 8 weeks. The baby is yours." Lindsay Cheng, however, violently shook off her hand. "Stop talking nonsense. I never touched you. How could it be mine? Who knows which man you had that child with?" Seeing he wouldn't admit it, Zhao Wanqiao pulled out her phone and played a video. The two pale figures entangled on the screen were unmistakably her and Lindsay Cheng. Lindsay Cheng completely lost it. He grabbed Zhao Wanqiao by the hair and began slapping her face frantically. Watching this whole spectacle, I felt nothing but utter exhaustion. "Security, get them all out of here." Lindsay Cheng heard my voice and whipped his head around, his face still streaked with tears of despair. "Yao Yao, please don't do this. I still love you. I looked at him and laughed scornfully. What you love is the Jiang family legacy that the name Jiang Yao represents. I declared it clearly, word by word, in front of everyone. Lindsay Cheng, we're through. Don't you dare bother me again. Hearing the word breakup, Lindsay Cheng completely fell apart. I won't. He fell to his knees and began recounting our past, speaking of all the sweet memories we once shared from start to finish. I just watched him calmly. Lindsay Cheng, the moment you ripped my spare oxygen tank from me and handed it to another woman, there's no chance for us anymore. 8. The guards finally arrived and dragged away Director Wang, who was still crying and begging for mercy, along with the completely broken Lindsay Cheng and Zhao Wanqiao. Before being taken away, Lindsay Cheng was still screaming his heart out. Yao Yao, I can't live without you. You can't do this to me. The medbay door slammed shut, sealing out all the noise and ugliness. Peace and quiet at last. Pei Qingyan handed me a glass of warm water, his voice calm and steady, as if it could soothe all wounds. Get some rest. We'll take care of the rest. He told me he would come by every day during my recovery. I nodded, took the glass of water, and said quietly, Captain Gu, thank you. I owe you my life. Hearing this, he let out a soft chuckle, a gentle ripple stirring in the depths of his eyes. No, it would be more accurate to say I've repaid you a life. I was stunned, staring at him in confusion. It was only under my persistent questioning that he finally explained. Many years ago, when he was just learning to dive, he nearly drowned at sea due to his lack of experience. It was I who happened to pass by and found him. Without hesitation, I pulled him out of the water and even performed CPR on him. My heart skipped a beat as a long-buried memory was instantly reawakened. That year, I had just gotten my diving license and was vacationing by the sea. I did indeed rescue a young man who was drowning. It was an emergency, so I didn't get a clear look at his face, and I didn't think much of it afterward. That person was you? I asked in disbelief. Pei Qingyan's ears flushed slightly, and he cleared his throat somewhat awkwardly. Yes. I thought to myself back then that I must repay her one day. I never imagined we'd actually meet again. Learning the full story, my cheeks grew warm, and an indescribable, wonderful feeling welled up in my heart. So, this time you, not entirely. He cut me off, his gaze turning earnest and sincere. I was genuinely shocked when I received your father's call for help, but when I saw you, in that desperate situation, calmly activating the distress beacon to save yourself, I realized what I admire isn't just the kind-hearted girl from 5 years ago, but the resilient, strong woman you are now. In the days that followed, Pei Qingyan came to the medical bay every day. Officially, it was for my rehabilitation checkups, but in reality, he spent most of the time chatting with me, telling me fascinating diving stories from around the world and planning my future recovery training. 2 weeks later, I was discharged, fully recovered. News of the Liu family's bankruptcy was plastered across every headline. Only after a thorough investigation did the police discover that Lindsay Cheng's so-called Scientific Research Institute was merely a front. He had abused his position to extensively steal and sell rare deep-sea biological and mineral samples. The sums involved were enormous, revealing a complete gray market supply chain operating behind the scenes. The Liu family was finished for good. It is said that upon learning he had been sentenced to 20 years in prison, Lindsay Cheng actually fainted on the spot. After being released on bail, he actually showed up at my doorstep. He knelt outside the wrought iron gate of the villa, begging me through tears to drop the charges, and even had the nerve to ask to borrow money to bribe his way out of paying the fine. Yao Yao, for the sake of all the years we grew up together, please help me, lend me another 5 million. No, 3 million will do, otherwise, I'm going to be thrown in jail. I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window on the second floor, looking down coldly at the man I had once loved for so many years. He knelt on the ground, humble as dust, yet my heart felt nothing but numbness. I left home for the hospital. Today is the day for my rehabilitation training. The nurses in the hospital couldn't help but tease him when they saw him. Dr. Gu is here again. It's the first time we've seen him take such an interest in a girl. I find myself enjoying the time I spend with Pei Qingyan more and more. That sense of peace, respect, and being cherished is something I never experienced with Lindsay Cheng. Pei Qingyan walked over to me, naturally took the rehabilitation equipment from my hands, and promised, don't worry about the outside world, I'll be here for your rehab, for as long as it takes. Sunlight streamed through the window, falling on him. As I looked at his gentle profile, a frozen corner of my heart began to quietly thaw. 9. After a year of rehabilitation training, with Pei Qingyan by my side, I had made a full recovery. I had just finished swimming and stepped onto the beach when Pei Qingyan was already there waiting for me with a towel. But just then, a figure suddenly rushed out from the nearby coconut grove, stumbling and lunging toward me. The man was dressed in rags, his hair greasy and matted, reeking of sour filth. Looking every bit a vagrant, he dropped to his knees right there on the sand in front of me, clutching my legs as tears and snot streamed down his face. Yao Yao, I finally found you. I was wrong. I truly was. Please forgive me. Startled by this sudden turn of events, I took a step back. It took me a long moment of careful scrutiny to recognize a vaguely familiar outline in that grimy, dirt-streaked face. It was Lindsay Cheng. Seeing him in such a wretched, utterly destitute state, for a moment I could scarcely believe it was him. His cries instantly drew the attention of every tourist on the beach, all eyes turning toward him with curiosity and scrutiny, yet I merely watched him coldly, as if he were a complete stranger. Yao Yao, look at me. This past year has been a living hell. Clutching my ankle, he poured out his misery with desperate fervor. I'm wanted by the police, constantly on the run. If I hadn't smuggled myself here, I'd never have seen you again in this lifetime. That bitch Xiao Wanxiao swindled me out of my last bit of money and ran off with some old man. Everyone has betrayed me. Only you wouldn't, right? I pulled my foot back, my face wrinkling in disgust. Let go. I won't let go. Seeing my cold indifference, Lindsay Cheng abruptly stood up from the ground, his eyes turning wild and venomous. Jiang Yao, don't push me. He pulled a worn-out phone from his jacket and pointed it at me threateningly. I have the Jiang family's secrets right here on my phone. If you don't give me 10 million to start a new life abroad, I swear, tomorrow's headlines around the world will be plastered with your family's scandal. My eyes turned cold. Back when I was madly in love with Lindsay Cheng, I did indeed reveal some of our family company's internal secrets to him, but I never imagined that after the breakup, he would actually use this to threaten me, thinking he had found my Achilles heel. A smug, twisted smile spread across his face. Transfer the money to my account now, or else. Before he could finish his sentence, a figure flashed by. Before I knew it, Pei Qingyan had appeared in front of me. He raised his leg and delivered a vicious kick straight to Lindsay Cheng's chest. Lindsay Cheng was sent flying like a rag doll, his phone slipping from his grasp and landing on the sandy beach. Pei Qingyan picked up the phone and, without so much as a glance, hurled it into the sea. He looked down at Lindsay Cheng, who was groaning in pain on the sand, a cold, mocking sneer curling at the corner of his mouth. Using such despicable means to threaten a woman, Lindsay Cheng, you've truly stooped to a new low. Just then, several police officers arrived and swiftly subdued Lindsay Cheng, pinning him to the ground. Pei Qingyan had called the police at some point, unbeknownst to us, as the police handcuffed and led Lindsay Cheng away. He was still shouting at me in bitter resentment. Jiang Yao, I hope you die a horrible death. I'll haunt you from beyond the grave. As I watched him being escorted into the police car and disappearing from sight, I felt nothing inside. With that final problem resolved, peace returned to the beach. It was only after Lindsay Cheng was arrested that I learned he had been sentenced to death. He was originally sentenced to just 20 years for trafficking illegal goods, but then, during his bail period, that scoundrel Zhao Wanqiao had to come back and taunt him after hooking up with some rich sugar daddy. Enraged, Lindsay Cheng stabbed Zhao Wanqiao to death with a fruit knife and buried the body right there in the courtyard. After the police discovered the body, they launched a manhunt for Lindsay Cheng. Who would have thought he'd be so brazen as to come looking for me? Pei Qingyan had been in secret contact with the police all along, so they simply set a trap to catch him red-handed. Pei Qingyan took off his own coat, draped it over my shoulders, and gently drew me into his embrace. It's all over now, he said softly. I nodded, leaning against the warmth of his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. He lowered his head, looking intently into my eyes, his voice clear and earnest. Yao Yao, I love you. It's not because you saved my life 5 years ago. What I love is you. Your resilience, your kindness, the way you shine so brilliantly. After rising from the ashes, my eyes instantly welled up with tears. Over the past year, he has walked with me through my darkest hours. He's been by my side through rehabilitation, through my studies, helping me rediscover my passion for life and my confidence in myself. He made me understand that true love is not about possession or taking, but about respect, companionship, and enabling the other's happiness. I've also found a new purpose for my life: to establish a marine conservation foundation and use my own strength to protect this beloved blue planet. I love you too, Yanzhou. I rose on my tiptoes and kissed him. The sea breeze whispered, and the setting sun stretched our shadows long. My new life has nothing to do with Lindsay Cheng anymore. My future is him, the stars, and the boundless sea. The end. That's the end of the first story. I hope you enjoyed it. The next one will be even more exciting. So let's keep reading together. Zhou Bei and I grew up together. We got married Right after graduating from university, he's always spoiled me since we were kids, giving in to my every whim, and I gradually grew accustomed to his way of life. I thought we could maintain this loving relationship until old age, but I underestimated a man whose heart had changed. The greater the love was at the beginning, the more devastating the downfall at the end. Today is our 5th wedding anniversary, and as usual, I waited for him to come home and celebrate with me, but what I received instead was an unknown call and a photograph. The call was from a stranger. And the photo was sent by a stranger too. The photo showed Jobei kissing another woman in a hotel. This closeness feels just like the passionate puppy love we had back in our teenage years. I calmly tossed those photos into the trash, then fed the cake I'd made to a stray dog. I thought I could handle it calmly, but when I saw that pregnancy test, I sank to the floor, a pain so intense it felt like a spasm shot through my whole body, and I broke down into uncontrollable sobs. Jobei and I had been married for 5 years. I had finally gotten pregnant, only for fate to turn around and hand me a cruel surprise. I thought long and hard that night about whether to get a divorce or to keep living with him. Once a woman has a child, a mother's heart always softens. The truth is, the feelings between Jobei and I started to change in the 3rd year of our marriage. I don't know when he started to change. At first, he came home on time every day, then it became a few times a week, and later, only 2 or 3 times a month. That's when I first started suspecting he was having an affair, but every time he came home, he showed me the same affection as always, so I dismissed the thought each time it arose. Maybe I trusted him too much, or maybe I couldn't let go of our 28 years together. Time and again, my heart softened, and I forgave his mistakes. I waited for him for a long time. Tonight, he still hadn't come home even after midnight. It wasn't until 1 o'clock that I finally received a message from him. Honey, I'm working late tonight, so I won't be coming home. Don't wait up for me. I didn't reply to the message and just went upstairs to sleep too. So, Mr. Zhou, who's better, me or your wife? The woman nestled in Jobei's arms teased him. Jobei took a deep drag of his cigarette, but still no message appeared on his phone. Irritation welled up inside him. You're not even fit to hold a candle to her. Humph. And yet you've kept me for 3 years. Aren't you afraid your wife will find out and divorce you? Jobei grabbed the woman's face and forced the smoke from his mouth into hers. The woman choked on a cough and thumped his chest. You're awful. A wicked grin spread across Jobei's lips. My wife isn't as vicious as you. Even if she found out, she couldn't bear to divorce me. She'd just make me dump you, and I'd listen to my wife. I'd just find someone else to take your place later. The woman's smile froze instantly. She hadn't expected the man to be so disgusting and sleazy. She thought that if his wife found out about his affair, it would be easy for her to take the wife's place. After all, not just anyone can become Jobei's wife. Jobei didn't look at the woman's stiffened face and continued, so you'd better behave. If my wife finds out, there'll be another woman in my bed right now. The woman didn't reply, anxiously leaning into his embrace, but it was too late. She had already told his wife everything. By now, his wife must know. Jobei had sex with the woman one more time, but afterwards, he still didn't receive her reply. After thinking it over, there was only one possibility. She had fallen asleep, because no matter how late he messaged her before, she would always reply. It was likely she had simply dozed off. With that thought, Jobei drifted off to sleep peacefully. 3. I got up very early the next morning to go to the hospital. I hadn't slept all night, and I'd been thinking the whole time. I decided to divorce him and terminate the pregnancy. I need to go through with the termination while the baby is still small and before I lose my nerve. If I wait until it's bigger, I'm afraid I'll get too attached and won't be able to go through with it. I don't want there to be a child after I divorce him. It wouldn't be good for anyone, especially not for the child. If you can't give a child a perfect family, then you shouldn't bring one into the world. There were many women there for abortions, some alone, others accompanied by their husbands. I waited from 8 in the morning until 10. And just as I was finally called in, his message arrived. Honey, my flight to Beijing is today. I'll probably be back in a week. What would you like as a gift this time? I'll bring it back for you. A bitter smile touched my lips. I glanced at the operating room door, then back at his message on my phone. My hand rested on my stomach as I said a final goodbye to our child. Jobei, the child you always wanted. In the end, it's gone because of you. I replied to his message. I don't want anything. Just focus on your work. When you get back, there's something I need to tell you. The reply came quickly. What's up? I didn't tell him it was about the divorce and abortion, but said I'd explain in person when he got back. After that, I turned off my phone and went into the procedure room. The abortion was over quickly. Just 20 minutes from anesthesia to waking up, yet it felt like a lifetime had passed. From the initial stirrings of affection, to the passionate love in between, to the final regret when I returned home, the child in my womb was gone. Facing the vast, empty, and desolate villa, I felt truly lonely for the first time. Even when Jobei wasn't home before, I never felt this lonely. I don't know what's different today, but this villa suddenly feels so alien and cold. I thought this villa held the happiest memories of my life, but in the end, it turned out to be my greatest joke. A 28-year relationship had finally succumbed to the passage of time. For the day I got back from my shift at the pet shop, I saw a huge cake and a gift box sitting on the table. I knew he was back, and he was back early at that. Seeing that enormous gift box and cake, he must have just remembered that night was our wedding anniversary, so he rushed back just to surprise me. But a missed moment is just that. A later celebration can never capture the magic of the day itself. In the past, coming home to a surprise like this would have made me so happy, but now, I just don't have the heart to sit through the cake and gifts with him. He emerged from the kitchen, still holding the bowl of noodles he could never seem to cook right. Wan, you're back. I gave a slight nod. I saw him put the bowl down and move to hug me, but I sidestepped the embrace. He was taken aback, not expecting my refusal. I made an excuse. I just came from the pet shop. I must smell. As soon as I mentioned I'd just come back from the pet store, he immediately put some distance between us. I knew he was allergic to animal fur, which is exactly why I said it. When I first started working at the pet store, he was strongly against it. Not only is he allergic to pet dander, but he also really dislikes animals, so my wish to get a cat or two went unfulfilled, all because I had to consider his feelings. Why don't you go take a shower first? And then I'll tell you something. I nodded and turned to go upstairs. When I came back down, he had already opened the cake box and lit the candles. I walked over and heard him say, Wan, I'm so sorry. I've been so busy I completely forgot last week was our wedding anniversary. Let me make it up to you today. Okay, please don't be mad. How can you say you're making it up to me? It's not like I got married by myself. Why not say you're making it up to yourself, or to the both of us? But it doesn't matter anymore. I smiled and replied, my tone as gentle as ever. I'm not angry, because I no longer cared. After all, tonight is the night we go our separate ways. I ate the last bowl of noodles he ever cooked for me. They were just as awful as always. I mustered the patience to spend one last anniversary with him and open gifts. The gift was a necklace worth 2 million. When he tried to put it on me, I refused. Jobei, we need to talk. 5. Hearing me use his full name, Jobei's eyelid twitched, and a sense of panic began to stir within him. All right, go ahead. I took a deep breath and spoke the 5 words I had been rehearsing in my mind. Let's get a divorce. The air hung silent for a few seconds before he processed it. What? He seemed unsure of what he had just heard. I met his gaze and repeated, I said, let's get a divorce. His smile finally faded, and he looked at me with disbelief. Why? He asked. I forced a bitter smile, one that said more than words ever could. Shouldn't I be asking you that? He froze, as if something had just dawned on him. He took a fearful step back, and when he looked up at me again, his face had gone pale. He stumbled over, trying to grab my hand, but I dodged him. His face turned another shade paler. Wan, I'm the one who's wrong. I'll end things with her tomorrow. I promise. Let's not get a divorce, okay? I refused gently, but that single word, no, cut through him like a knife. But didn't it cut me just as deeply? I didn't want this either. If he hadn't betrayed me, I would never have mentioned divorce, and we wouldn't have come to this. Seeing my resolute stance on divorce, his fists clenched involuntarily, his lips pressed into a tight, straight line. Blinded by rage, he lunged at me, kissing me frantically and tearing off half my clothes. With tears welling in my eyes, I finally slapped him hard across the face. It was the first time I had ever struck him, and the first time he had almost forced himself on me. Jobei was stunned by the blow. It wasn't until he saw my red-rimmed eyes that he finally snapped back to reality. I'm sorry, Wan. I'm so sorry, truly. He kept apologizing, but I couldn't hear a word of it. In that moment, I felt nothing but utter disappointment. After frantically straightening my clothes for me, he couldn't face the divorce I mentioned and simply walked out the door. The door slammed shut with a deafening crash, its echo reverberating through the house for what felt like an eternity. After I brought up divorce, Jobei vanished into thin air. No replies to my messages, no answer to my calls. I let out a bitter laugh. Was he really this dead set against getting a divorce? But my mind was made up. I was determined to divorce him. I was planning to go straight to his office to find him that day, but I got into a car accident on the way. A large truck's brakes failed, and it came right at me. If I hadn't reacted quickly to avoid the oncoming truck, I would have ended up in the lake. However, my car still crashed into the guardrail. Fortunately, I wasn't seriously injured, just a minor scrape on my forehead. My first instinct was to call Jobei, but I hesitated as I was about to dial. He probably wouldn't answer my call anyway, and since I've already decided to divorce him, I shouldn't bother him anymore. The police arrived quickly to handle the traffic accident. No one from either side was seriously injured, and the cause of the accident was entirely the truck's fault. The truck driver was even more injured than I was. Seeing he was an honest man just trying to make a living hauling goods, I refused his offer to cover my medical expenses. As for this car, the front end is smashed up and it's undrivable. I'm not even going to ask him to pay for it. Jobei bought this car for me back in the day. Now that it's broken, it's time to scrap it. You can try to fix a wrecked car, but some parts will always be damaged. No amount of repair can make it feel new again. 6. While I was alone at the hospital, waiting in line for my checkup, I ran into someone. I've seen this guy a number of times, but we're not close. He's Jobei's father's right-hand man, Xiao Heng. I've heard there's no contract he can't land when he's on the case. I decided to lower my head to avoid his gaze, hoping he wouldn't recognize me. If he figured out it was me, Jobei's father would likely find out about my car accident. Jobei's parents have always been very kind to me, so I really don't want them cutting their overseas trip short and rushing back just to check on my minor injuries. If Jobei's parents come back, it'll be even harder to get this divorce. Even with my head buried in my clothes, he still recognized me. Miss Zhou. The man's voice was deep and resonant, perfect for a soothing bedtime story. I clutched my phone awkwardly, pulling my head out from my collar with embarrassment and feigning a look of surprise. Mr. Xiao, what are you doing here? Xiao Heng didn't answer my question right away, his gaze fixed on the wound on my forehead. What happened, Miss Zhou? That injury on your forehead, it's nothing. I just bumped myself in the shower, I said casually, making up an excuse. I didn't mention the car accident, so he wouldn't tell Jobei's parents about this minor incident. He nodded and asked me, do you need any help? I instinctively shook my head to decline, and no, it's fine, it's just a quick checkup, thanks. Perhaps sensing my awkwardness, he didn't press the conversation any further. Not long after Xiao Heng left, I spotted another person, Jobei, but he hadn't come to the hospital alone. He'd brought a woman with him. This time, I didn't duck my head into my collar, yet he still didn't seem to notice me over here. The woman with him was stunning. She wore a black bodycon dress, had wavy, cascading hair, and her looks could rival any A-list celebrity. The woman clung to his arm with a shy, pitiable air, though his expression seemed displeased. He offered no resistance to her hold, as if he was used to it. Standing side by side, they looked perfectly matched. For a fleeting, dizzying moment, I wondered if I had truly held him back. I don't know how long I watched them, talking and laughing, with the woman constantly nestling against his chest, coquettishly seeking his affection. I could feel my entire body go rigid. The wound on my forehead had stopped hurting, but now it seemed to ache with a fierce, renewed intensity. My vision seemed to grow increasingly blurry, making it hard to see them clearly. I had no idea how long I'd been staring until it was nearly time for my checkup, and I dreaded hearing my name called. In a daze, I got up and headed out, but I was a step too late. My name was called, and the person who hadn't noticed me finally looked around, searching for me. I heard him call my name, yet my feet only carried me away faster. As I stepped out, I spotted Xiao Heng, who hadn't left yet. It felt like finding a lifeline. Without a second thought, I reached out to him, my mind consumed by a single thought. I didn't want to see Jobei. The thought of them leaning so intimately against each other just moments ago makes me sick to my stomach. 7. Xiao Heng. I shouted his name loudly to stop him from getting into the car. Xiao Heng's hand, which was opening the car door, jerked to a halt. He turned and saw my pale face, devoid of any color, my eyes rimmed with a fierce red, tears streaming down incessantly. I ran over and pleaded with him, my voice trembling. Xiao Heng, please, please, just let me get in your car, okay? Jobei was catching up from behind, but I really didn't want to see him at all. I looked at Xiao Heng with a pleading gaze, hoping he would agree. Xiao Heng saw my pleading look, then glanced at Jobei and a woman who were chasing after me. I thought I saw his eyes darken, and then he fell silent for a few seconds. He didn't answer, instead opening the door for me directly. I looked at him gratefully, whispered a thank you, and quickly got into his car. The door was shut quickly, cutting off Jobei, who had caught up, and I immediately breathed a sigh of relief. The car began to move slowly. The sound of Jobei calling my name persisted all around, and he kept pounding on the window, but I never once turned to look back. My gaze remained fixed on the car's rearview mirror, watching the frantic Jobei outside. He seemed to have gone mad, relentlessly pounding on the window. Jobei was always the one who cared most about his image, yet at this moment, he cast all regard for his appearance aside. Paying no heed to the stares of onlookers, the car drove further and further away. Only when Zhou Bei's figure vanished from sight did the tension finally drain from my body. I didn't know when my tears had run dry. It wasn't until a handkerchief appeared before my eyes that I suddenly snapped back to reality. I made a complete fool of myself in Xiaoheng's car. It seemed he was the only one who witnessed my pathetic state, leaving me utterly embarrassed and mortified. When I looked outside again, I realized he had already driven to the villa where Zhou Bei and I lived. Our wedding wasn't a large affair. We only invited Zhou Bei's relatives. By then, Xiaoheng had long been a trusted right-hand man to Zhou Bei's father, so of course he was in attendance. That's how he knew Zhou Bei and I lived here. But I don't want to go back to that villa right now. Every time I've returned there these past few days, I feel like I can't breathe. The atmosphere is so oppressive it's suffocating. I swallowed my pride and asked Xiaoheng another question, if he had a spare room I could stay in for a few days. I promised I'd leave as soon as I found a new place and wouldn't be a bother. I couldn't tell if his expression was good or bad, but he remained silent, not saying a word. I just asked him for one favor, and now I'm shamelessly asking for another. I think he must be angry. I quickly apologized and tried to get out of his car in a hurry, but the door wouldn't open. I glanced at Xiaoheng in the rearview mirror. Just then, I heard him say, "There is a room, but I'm afraid you might not find it comfortable." I immediately waved my hand and said I wasn't picky about where I stayed. I'd be fine even in an unfinished, bare-bones apartment. My words made him laugh instantly. It was the first time I'd ever seen him smile. No matter the occasion before, he'd always worn a cold, expressionless face, never showing even a hint of a smile. He had a lovely smile. When he smiled, the sternness in his eyes and brows softened considerably. He asked if I wanted to go grab some clothes first. I agreed, as it was too late to buy new ones now, and I didn't want to cause him any more trouble. I had assumed the place he said he was uncomfortable in was a rather simple house, but when I saw his home, I was taken aback. Honestly, this place isn't all that different from the villa I shared with Zhou Bei. The only real difference is the decor. It's much darker and more somber, which suits him perfectly. When I walked in, I saw a golden retriever. It looked adorable and well-behaved, but its personality was the complete opposite of its owners. The dog was lively and full of energy. He showed me to a room on the second floor. The interior design was even more off-putting, and I instantly regretted my decision. The decor in here has such a feminine touch. I'm starting to regret agreeing to stay over. It completely slipped my mind that he probably has a girlfriend. If his girlfriend were to suddenly come back, it'd be impossible to explain. I'm thinking maybe I should just go home. But it's like he can read my mind. He spoke up first to explain, "This is my mom's room. There's no one else here besides me and her, and she's off traveling right now, so she won't be back for a while. You can stay as long as you need. Don't worry about it." I don't dare to stay for long. Right now, I just want to get away from Zhou Bei for a while, to be alone. I need to sort out my feelings completely before I talk to him about the divorce. I told him I'd only be imposing for 3 or 4 days, and that I'd leave as soon as the time was up, without causing him any trouble. I also said I wouldn't stay for free and would pay him. He didn't say anything, but he didn't refuse either. He just told me to make myself at home. He even gave me a key, saying he's often not home, so if I wanted to go out, I could let myself back in. That night, my phone was flooded with texts and calls from Zhou Bei. It wasn't until the battery died that the ringing finally stopped. That night, I didn't think about anything. After a hot shower, I fell asleep quickly. When I woke up the next day, I charged my phone for a bit. Soon, it rang. I thought it was Zhou Bei again, but when I glanced at the number, I realized it wasn't him. But the number felt familiar. It looked a lot like the one that had called on mine and Zhou Bei's last wedding anniversary. My mind went blank. Out of curiosity, I answered the call. I was dying to know what news the caller had for me this time. The moment the call connected, the person on the other end immediately broke down and started screaming at me. This time, I could tell the voice was a woman's, and I guessed it was probably the woman who had been with Zhou Bei when I saw him at the hospital. Her tirade was vicious and utterly shattering. She yelled, "Si Wan Wan, you bitch, because of you, Zhou Bei heartlessly made me get rid of my baby. I begged and pleaded with him to let me keep this child, and just because we ran into you at the hospital, he coldly changed his mind and forced me to abort." I couldn't listen to another word. I quickly hung up and blocked her number. This time, I finally couldn't hold it in. I rushed to the bathroom and was violently sick, retching until there was nothing left but bitter, acidic water. Tears streamed down my face uncontrollably alongside the heaving, and only then did I finally stop. I don't want to dwell on the memories of Zhou Bei, but my mind keeps betraying me, pushing me to the brink of collapse. Time and again, I would submerge myself underwater until my breath grew faint. The lack of air became unbearable, and my mind went blank. Only then did I find a fleeting moment of peace. 9. During my stay at Xiao Heng's place, I saw him come home every single day. He claimed he was off and away, yet I practically saw him daily. He came home from work much earlier than usual that day, since I thought he wouldn't be back until noon. I just went downstairs in my pajamas to get some water, then I saw him already busy in the living room, and I was completely stunned. Our eyes met, and I blushed crimson with embarrassment. I wasn't wearing a bra, and I was terrified he might have seen something he shouldn't have. Without a second thought, I dashed back upstairs. It was, without a doubt, the most mortifying moment of my life ever since that phone call. I turned my phone off for 3 days and shut myself away in an unfamiliar room. Those days made me suddenly realize a lot of things. Love makes one endure, while the absence of it leads to straying. It's when one person is indecisive and soft-hearted that it fuels another's insatiable greed and desire to do any evil. So, Zhou Bei, I don't want to be your good wife anymore. That day, I moved out of Xiao Heng's place. I left a substantial sum of money on the living room table along with a thank you note. I figured he'd see it when he got back. I put on the pale red dress I wore the day Zhou Bei and I went to get our marriage certificate. What begins in one place should end there. The moment I switched my phone back on, Zhou Bei's call came through. His voice was frantic, full of concern for me, yet not a single word of explanation about the woman and child at the hospital. I told him to wait for me at the office. I wanted to talk. He knew what it was about, so there was a long silence on the other end of the line. I didn't wait for his answer, because today I was determined to make him agree to the divorce. I went to him with the ultrasound from my last pregnancy. I knew exactly what would hurt him the most, just as he knew what would wound me the deepest. He didn't just hurt me once, he went ahead and did it a second time. He once promised he'd never break my heart, yet in the end, he was the very one who shattered it completely. It had only been a few days since I last saw Zhou Bei, but he looked utterly haggard. The bright, handsome man I once knew completely gone. Wan. His voice was as gentle as ever when he called my name, yet my heart felt parched and hollow. I got straight to the point and brought up the divorce again. This time, he didn't refuse or argue, he just kept his head bowed in silence. I was afraid he was just stalling, so I brought up the woman from the hospital and their child myself. Zhou Bei, you shouldn't have gotten rid of that baby. You've lost your first child. Wan, that child isn't mine. He was adamant that the child wasn't his. But I don't care anymore if the child is his or not, even if it isn't his now. What about in the future? You never know. I let out a sigh of profound regret before pulling the ultrasound report from my bag and holding it out to him. We could have had a child, Zhou Bei, but in the end, because of you, we lost the baby. When he saw the ultrasound report I handed him, his initial shock gave way to joy, but that joy instantly froze solid at my words. I watched as the color drained from his face, then twisted into rage. Before finally collapsing into utter devastation, he smashed everything in the office he could get his hands on. A crowd had gathered outside, but no one dared to step in. I watched his tantrum with perfect calm. I felt nothing inside, only a cold, satisfying sense of vengeance fulfilled. Finally, exhausted, he broke down. Tears streamed down his face as he knelt before me, apologizing over and over. Wan, I was wrong. I'm the one who deserves to die. You shouldn't have taken our child out of spite. That was our first child. Zhou Bei, if you have any sense of remorse, I want you to agree to the divorce tomorrow. I left after saying my piece and moved out of the villa I shared with Zhou Bei. Over the years, Zhou Bei gave me a substantial amount of money, all of which I saved up, allowing me to buy another place of my own. My confrontation with Zhou Bei about the divorce that day caused such a public stir that, despite his efforts to suppress the news, it still ended up trending online. Zhou Bei's parents, who were traveling abroad, learned about the incident and rushed back the very next day. Zhou Bei's parents gave him a good thrashing and made a special trip to see me every day. I thought they would try to talk me out of divorcing him, but their words left me stunned. Wan, our Zhou family has wronged you. It's our fault for not raising our son properly and letting you suffer. It's alright, Mom. I was also very happy to be your daughter-in-law these past few years. 10. The trending topic was suppressed only after several days of effort. Meanwhile, Zhou Bei was caught in the crossfire, enduring external pressure while also facing demands from his parents to divorce me. In the end, he had no choice left and finally called me. I drove to the restaurant he had booked. The dishes already ordered on the table were, as always, my favorites. Wan, are you really sure you want to divorce me? I studied him carefully. In comparison, he looked even more haggard than the last time we met, while I seemed increasingly radiant. I nodded very seriously. Without the slightest hesitation, he merely smiled at the corners of his mouth, but it was a strained smile. I thought I saw the rims of his eyes redden, but I lowered my head and looked away. He slid the divorce papers across the table, telling me to read the terms carefully. I read them thoroughly. He was offering me a fortune, enough money to last me 2 lifetimes. I didn't refuse. I signed without hesitation. Once the agreement was signed, I was ready to file for the divorce certificate that very day. My urgency seemed to catch him off guard. "So soon?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "Does it have to be this soon?" I looked at him deeply, nodded, and then said very flatly, "Today is my birthday. I want to resolve this matter completely and give it to my 28-year-old self as a gift." I saw the shock in his eyes. See, I knew he'd forgotten my birthday again in 5 years of marriage. He's forgotten my birthday twice, and our anniversary once. When exactly did Joe Bay and I start to change? I can't figure it out. And I don't understand, but on the road ahead, these questions won't hurt me anymore. I thought my life would be peaceful after divorcing Joe Bay, but just one day after the divorce, Xiaoheng called me. He said I'd left some of my things at his place. I didn't think much of it, because I can be quite careless sometimes and genuinely forget things. When I went back to Xiaoheng's place, I noticed there was an extra person. Seeing her youthful face, I thought she was his girlfriend, but after he called her mom, I realized it was his mother. I never expected his mother to look so young. She appeared to be in her 30s. I just wanted to grab the thing he said I'd left behind and get out of there quickly, but his mother stopped me. She insisted I stay for dinner, saying she had prepared all these dishes especially for me. I was baffled and tried to catch Xiao Heng's eye for help, but he just shrugged helplessly, unable to assist me at all. In the end, I had no choice but to reluctantly stay for dinner at Xiao Heng's mother's insistence. After the meal, I thought I could finally leave, but Xiao Heng's mother pulled me aside for a chat. It wasn't until very late that she finally let Xiao Heng see me home. I was about to refuse, but I was so furious. I never expected Xiao Heng's dog to be so mischievous. It actually bit a hole in my tire. The car is brand new, and it breaks my heart, but there's nothing I can do. Xiao Heng said he'd fix the tire for me, and I can pick it up whenever I'm free. Of course, I wouldn't turn down an offer like that. After all, whose fault is it that his dog is so naughty? When a pet messes up, the owner has to take responsibility. So, that night, Xiaoheng gave me a ride home, but as I got out of the car, I saw Zhou Bei. He started walking towards me when he saw me, but then he spotted Xiaoheng behind me, and his expression visibly froze. It's hard not to jump to conclusions when a woman steps out of a man's car late at night. I saw Zhou Bei clench his fist and storm over, and I instinctively shut my eyes. I thought Zhou Bei was going to hit me, but his fist landed on Xiaoheng, who was standing behind me. Xiaoheng took Zhou Bei's punch without flinching. In fact, from the way he acted, it seemed he had deliberately let himself be hit, making no move to dodge at all. "Xiaoheng, didn't you promise me you'd leave her alone from now on?" Zhou Bei grabbed Xiaoheng by the collar, his voice thick with anger as he confronted him. Xiaoheng's expression remained calm and composed, a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. The corner of his thin lips lifted slightly. "I only promised not to interfere while you were together. I made no promises about after it ended." I was shocked by their conversation. Why did it seem to be about me? Zhou Bei was furious and tried to hit Xiaoheng again, but this time I stopped him. Zhou Bei looked at me in disbelief as I shielded Xiaoheng. I could see the shock and anguish in his eyes, but I callously ignored his emotions. I no longer wanted anything to do with him. He asked me sorrowfully if I divorced him because I had feelings for Xiaoheng. At that, I couldn't help but laugh. "Zhou Bei, are you a child? Don't you know exactly why I divorced you? Even if I were to fall for someone in the future, you have no right to interfere. You have no right to meddle in my life." In a fit of rage, I blurted out everything on my mind, driving the words I'd been holding back straight into his heart. In the end, Zhou Bei left in utter humiliation, even tripping and falling on his way out. 11. This incident made me suspect that Xiaoheng might have feelings for me, so I laced every word I said with subtle hints of rejection. Yet, he paid them no mind at all. What's more, he straightforwardly admitted to liking me. I had thought that, given Xiaoheng's temperament, he would probably avoid me entirely after being rejected, but I was mistaken. Not only did he show up, he kept popping up right in front of me. I genuinely had no idea how to handle a suitor like that. Back in university, I saw Xiaoheng a lot too, because he was so handsome. My roommates would always drag me to watch the guys play basketball. They were there for Xiaoheng, but my eyes were on Zhou Bei. Come to think of it, every time I went to see Zhou Bei, I'd always spot Xiaoheng there. I always thought someone with Xiaoheng's personality would be aloof, but I never expected him to be so shamelessly persistent in pursuing someone. I work at a pet shop, and he's always bringing his dog in for checkups. With how often he shows up, it's impossible not to read into it. I went to Xiaoheng's house that day to pick up my car. His mom answered the door, and I immediately felt a headache coming on. Whenever I get caught by his mom, I know there's going to be an endless conversation. Sure enough, my hunch was right. Auntie Xiao talked to me for what felt like ages. Every time I tried to come up with an excuse to leave, she'd find a reason to ask me for a little favor, and just like that, she asked me to go upstairs and fetch something for her. I wanted to say no, but she kept mentioning how she wasn't feeling well and things like that. I was helpless. The older ginger is spicier, as they say. I was no match for Auntie Xiao. I could only go upstairs and get the thing for her. Aunt Xiao said the key was in the last small room, but when I entered, I didn't see a single key, only many paintings. The person in the paintings was still me. I was utterly shocked, unable to utter a single word. Each painting depicted my likeness, scenes of me exercising in university, and me sitting alone on the basketball court with my backpack, waiting for Zhou Bei. There were even moments from every single campus event I ever attended. What's worse, there was even a portrait of me crying my eyes out. I remember this one. I was so absorbed in my phone that I got hit by a ball while walking past the court I had just argued with Zhou Bei and was already feeling wronged. With my head hurting on top of that, the tears just started flowing uncontrollably. I was completely unaware that someone was right there, trying to comfort me. I didn't even register the apologies others were offering. My heart was in turmoil. I had thought Xiao Heng's affection for me was just a passing fancy. I never imagined he had liked me since university. Each painting was dated, and judging by the timeline, they spanned from my freshman year all the way to graduation. After I married Zhou Bei, the dates on the paintings stopped at my graduation, that is, until I saw the one on the shelf, which must have been painted recently. It's a drawing of me in my pajamas going downstairs for a drink of water, and he saw it all so clearly, and he actually drew it. I wish the ground would swallow me up. How could he be so shameless? I felt like I had intruded on someone's privacy. My eyes darted around nervously, and after handing the item to Zhao's mother, I bolted straight outside. For several days in a row, I kept avoiding Xiao Heng, but you can't run forever. That day, Xiao Heng finally cornered me, demanding to know why I was avoiding him. I stammered out an explanation, but he grabbed me, pulled me inside the house, and locked the door. My mind was completely filled with scenes from TV dramas, a forced kiss or something like that, yet, all he said was a single sentence: Zhou Wanwan, it's my birthday today, will you spend it with me? I was about to say that if we were celebrating his birthday, I should go buy him a cake first, but to my surprise, he had already brought one himself. His intentions were crystal clear. He bought it in advance specifically so I would spend the day with him since it was his birthday. I didn't turn him down. When making a wish, he wondered if this year's wish would come true. I told him it would. He looked up at me, his gaze profound and intense. It felt too heated, so I shyly looked away. Then I heard him say, "Oh, really? I hope this year's wish comes true too." Since I didn't have a gift ready for him, I cooked him a few of my signature dishes and some longevity noodles instead. I wasn't sure if he wanted a drink, but I could tell he was in low spirits, so I brought out a bottle of something mild to help him unwind. But as it turned out, he didn't touch the drink. I ended up finishing it all myself. The gossip he was sharing was just too juicy, all about celebrities' private lives. I ended up drinking it all without even realizing. I woke up the next day, lying naked in bed with him. Any adult would know what happened in a situation like that, and I still had flashes of the previous night in my mind. I remember him slowly moving closer, saying something I couldn't quite make out, and then I kissed him on the way. Still half asleep, I asked him a few things. "Xiao Heng, what did you wish for?" I remember he smiled, a bewitching smile, looked at me, and said, "The wish has already come true." And after that, the two of us, I feel like I could just die. My college roommate was right. Xiao Heng really knows how to use his looks to reel people in. I shouldn't have given in to his charms and kissed him last night. Beauty truly leads one astray. I wanted to run, but Xiao Heng saw right through me. I don't know how to face him, and I'm not sure if I should try to accept him, but Xiao Heng's attitude really surprised me. He said not to feel pressured. If I want to take responsibility, I can. And if I don't, that's fine too. My inner thoughts at that moment were, in the following days, Xiao Heng deliberately started bringing his clothes into my place. Piece by piece, his words said he didn't want me to take responsibility, but his actions told a completely different story. After spending some time with him, I realized he was incredibly domineering, extremely clingy, and insanely jealous. It was completely at odds with his usual aloof image. I tacitly accepted him living with me, and tacitly accepted the label of boyfriend that others gave him. Just like that, Xiao Heng and I naturally became a couple. In the year we've been together, Xiao Heng has been very tolerant of my little moods. When I get upset, he just quietly comforts me, never calling me out for being unreasonable. I found myself slipping back into my old, pampered ways even though Xiaoheng was perfect in every other way. I was annoyed by how often he pestered me at night. My back was covered in his scratch marks, yet he never learned his lesson. In the second year of our relationship, he proposed, but I turned him down. I was afraid he'd be angry, but instead, he comforted me. Wan, I'm sorry, I was too impatient, it's a bit too soon, I just got out of a marriage and I'm not ready to jump into another one so quickly. In the 2 years I've been dating Xiaoheng, I haven't seen Zhou Bei once. The last I heard of him was when he was hospitalized, and there's been no word since. It is truly a shame to end a 28-year relationship just like that, but life is long, and one shouldn't dwell in the past forever. In the 3rd year of my relationship with Xiaoheng, I received a phone call from Zhou Bei. I glanced at Xiaoheng. He didn't get jealous. Instead, he gave me a hug and then chose to wait for me outside. I answered the call and heard Zhou Bei's voice on the line. It sounded exactly the same as before, unchanged. Wan, is he treating you well? I told him the honest truth. Yes, he is. Zhou Bei fell silent for a long time. After what felt like an eternity, I could hear his muffled sobs on the other end of the line. Wan, I miss you so much. It's been 3 years, every night for 3 years. I've talked myself out of coming to find you, but I'm really falling apart. I can't stop thinking about you, wanting to hold you. Wan, please come back. I miss you so much. No matter how heartbroken or painful Zhou Bei's words were on the phone, my own heart remained completely unmoved. Maybe I've truly let go. Zhou Bei, everyone has to move forward. We're over. You should live your life well, and so should I. I've let go, and I hope you can let go of the past and start fresh too. So it wasn't my imagination these past 3 years. He was the one secretly watching me from the shadows. I thought I was just seeing things when I caught glimpses of Zhou Bei, but it really was him. In the 4th year after my divorce from Zhou Bei, I married Xiaoheng. I was pregnant, and they said it might be twins, so I accepted his proposal this year. Last time in the car, I couldn't resist Xiaoheng's advances. He tricked me. The condom tore a little, but I didn't think much of it. I gambled and didn't take the morning after pill, and that's how I ended up pregnant. At the wedding, I saw Zhou Bei. He was dressed just as he was at our own wedding, looking sunny and handsome. Later, I gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. I had very little time to care for them. Xiaoheng was the one who raised them almost single-handedly, but whenever Xiaoheng and I were busy, I noticed Zhou Bei would step in to look after the children. He would leave as soon as we returned. The days slipped by, and in the blink of an eye, the children were already in middle school. While we were gradually growing old, it was Xiaoheng's birthday. That evening, I asked him again what wish he had made this year. He said he had secretly made a wish for Zhou Bei this year, that some other woman would hurry up and take him away. Otherwise, he keeps coming over to our place all the time, and the kids are all attached to Zhou Bei instead of him. I chuckled. The older Xiaoheng gets, the more childish he becomes. At his age, he's still getting jealous over something like this. Sometimes, trying to placate him is really a hassle. When I turned 50, Zhou Bei passed away. He lay quietly in the villa we used to live in. By the time he was found, he had been gone for a long while. Zhou Bei's funeral was a simple affair. He had mentioned in a letter that a quiet service would suffice, as he found anything too lively to be noisy. A week after Zhou Bei passed away, I received a letter written in his own hand. There were many letters, all written during the periods of time after our divorce. After a long moment of contemplation, I chose not to look. Instead, I kept them all safe in a box. That day, when I returned from shopping, I saw Xiaoheng, a man in his 50s, with red-rimmed eyes, wiping away his tears. I teased him, saying he was almost an old man and still crying in secret. He pulled me into a tight embrace. My love, he said, you must always love me. I know. How many times are you going to say that? I've got it memorized. I was both exasperated and amused by him, but I've noticed Xiaoheng is getting more and more childish, and he's become particularly hard to appease. That day, I was having so much fun that I momentarily forgot to hold his hand, and he stayed in a huff with me because of it. That stubborn old man's temper, to sulk with his old lady just over a forgotten handhold, though he kept sneaking glances at my expression out of the corner of his eye. He didn't dare to actually make me angry. Before turning 28, Zhou Wanwan was fortunate to meet Zhou Bei in his prime. After turning 28, Zhou Wanwan was equally fortunate to meet the endearingly jealous Xiaoheng. The end. That's all for today's story. If you enjoyed it,